Welcome to GameRomp Easy Mode, where we hang out, talk about games, and relax for a bit.
And be chill about it.
Yeah, always be chillin'. I'm David.
I'm Deanna.
And we're going to talk about some games, and you can just relax and do whatever. Maybe take a nap. Maybe just sit and stare at the ceiling.
And listen to us and reply back to us in your head.
Yeah, sure.
But you're always welcome to reply back to us, either on Blue Sky or Reddit or wherever else. We even have
Tumblr,
email.
Instagram.
We barely use Instagram.
Well, we should be more on top of that. Okay, so, Instagram aside, let's talk about games.
Yay, games.
Last week I had talked about downloading a demo, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember the name of it this time.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's called Kriegsfront Tactics.
Kriegsfront Tactics.
Kriegs, yeah.
Okay.
And it's like, what is that word? It sounds German or something, but that's what they call the mechs in that game. They're Kriegs.
Does that stand for anything, or is it just
I don't know.
made up word?
I don't know. I just assumed it was made up. Kind of like in Front Mission, which this game is basically trying to be. In Front Mission, the mechs are called, I think they said Wanzers or Wanzers, which is also a German word, I think.
Or German-inspired.
Yeah. Huh. I didn't put that connection together, but yeah. So basically, yeah, Kriegsfront Tactics. It's basically an indie Front Mission. And if you don't know what Front Mission is, back in the, well, there was one on the Super Nintendo as well, but the big one in the West for me was Front Mission 3. And this was when I was like a teenager. I had just played Final Fantasy Tactics, and I'm like, whoa, tactics games are so cool. You get all these little dudes, and you move them around on the map, and I want more of that. And then I saw that Square had Front Mission 3, and it's just like, this is Final Fantasy Tactics, but instead of little knights and mages, you're in the modern day, well, future day, and you're in mechs. And it's like a political story about, like, I think Front Mission 3 was I don't remember the story too well, but it took place partly in what is, in our world, Japan and China. Maybe there was a little bit of US too. It's like basically a world galloping adventure. Well, if you could call it that, like a political story of war and troubles. You know, it's.
Now, which console was this on?
PS1.
Okay, I was gonna guess that, but I wasn't super sure. I never got into Front Mission, so.
Yeah, I know. And then Front Mission 4 was on the PS2, which was also a good game. I enjoyed it. But there was something special about Front Mission 3 and, like, the really blocky PlayStation graphics. They really lend themselves well to this type of mech. Because these mechs are just blocky little war machines. They're not, like, the super elegant looking Gundams.
Yeah, they're not like sports cars.
Yeah, they're not like, they don't look like toys. Well, they can look like toys, but they, like when you think of a Gundam, you think of like white, red, blue, yellow,
the
gold
primary
trim,
colors.
all these little fancy ornaments. In Front Mission and in this game, they're basically just war machines. They're not like decorative.
Yeah, it's military. They're supposed to blend in and look shitty.
Yeah. In Front Mission and in this game, you can technically go into the garage and decorate your things if you wanted to with, like, paint and, like, I want to change the pattern. But I didn't really do that in this because, I mean, it's just a demo, so whatever. But anyway, whereas Front Mission takes place in our real world, this game takes place in a fictional world, but inspired by us, obviously. It's kind of like, imagine, like, kind of like a Vietnam place. Oh. And this is like a Vietnam War where your characters are these like...
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, they're like these Western, basically USA coded soldiers, and they're in this like jungly, I want to say Vietnam, but I don't know. You sometimes see like these, I don't know if they're Buddhas, but like just statues with like, you know, the hand out like that.
Oh, the mudras, yeah.
Yeah, so that's like some sort of Southeast Asian country, and basically it's war-torn, and they had like a civil war or something, or
that definitely sounds like Vietnam.
There was like this other country came in to be like peacekeeping, or they invaded them. I don't remember the story exactly, and it's not, I'll get into it, but the story's not too important. But the thing that is important or interesting is that like after this place was ravaged by war or whatever, the invading force basically left. Kind of like how we did with Afghanistan. And we left like helicopters and stuff.
Oh god, so they'd all take it over.
There a lot of the old mechs were like just left there. So, they took them up and they're like starting up a revolution or something, and the Americans or American coded people are there to be like, oh, we got to restore peace. And obviously their story, the people are rebels and like freedom fighters, blah, 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 blah. But what's really interesting about that is that in the first few missions, you're basically fighting these already heavily damaged machines. So you'll like run into mechs that like don't have arms, or like the legs are just almost all broken.
So it's really easy to take them out.
For like the tutorial, yeah, it's a really cool way to make the tutorial area where it's like, these guys are going to be kind of easy. I mean, they're still dangerous because the guns are still guns, but like they're not going to take too much HP. So you're basically, the first mission is just a super, super hand-holdy tutorial. Like literally you have to click here and go here. You can't like do too much. Then you like, you lose one of your party members, and then like the game really starts proper in the next mission. And what's interesting, it kind of has like a Fallout style, old Fallout overworld map where you like click a point and your little unit kind of like travels there.
Right.
And it's like a fog of war, and like you'll come upon villages and like patrolling units. So it's like you're kind of exploring the jungles, and you have a mission to go meet one of your commanding officers somewhere. So you're going through the jungle, you're getting into missions and stuff. It's almost kind of like, what's the word? I don't want to say roguelite, but basically all the damage you take is persistent mission to mission. Whereas if you played Front Mission, everything kind of resets after each mission.
So there's no healing?
No. You get very limited healing.
Do you like that for more of a realistic standpoint?
This game is a lot harder than Front Mission.
Is that good or bad? For you personally?
It depends. It depends on what you're looking for. It's interesting because, okay, not only is the healing not persistent, but there's also fog of war. In Front Mission, there was no fog of war. You could just see everything at once, and that made like planning out your tactics a lot easier, I guess.
I would imagine.
But in this game, there's fog of war. You have to deal with woods. So like you can hide in woods, enemies can hide in woods.
Makes sense.
But you also have like the gunfire will destroy woods. So like it's not permanent cover. Not only that, like you have basically cluster bombs that like can hit like a 3x3 area, and like it can do splash damage even further than that. But like if you feel like, oh, I'm getting sniped at by in the woods and I don't know where it's coming from,
just set it all on fire.
Yeah, which is kind of cool, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you don't have to think about the ecological damage.
Yeah. It's basically an interesting extra tactical thing that Front Mission didn't have. Another thing they also brought in is like XCOM style overwatches and patrols. So if you played XCOM, which I know you haven't, basically in the beginning when you don't see enemies, you're walking around blind. You can, when you come upon a group of enemies, they'll be like, oh, the enemies see you, and they'll react. They'll run into position. So in this game that happens too. Like you're going around blind and like, oh, you'll run into an enemy position. If you're lucky, they're not looking at you, and you can get like a surprise attack on them. Like
if you just happen to come up behind them.
Yeah, like if you're sneaking through the woods and like you're just peeking out the edge of the woods. So if you get a surprise on them like that, you can attack them without them countering. Because normally in a normal fight, you and the enemy can counter each other's attacks if you have enough ability points, AP, right?
Right.
So that adds another element to it, which is like, again, it's one of those things where it's like you're either going to like it or you're not going to like it. At first, I didn't like it because I'm like, oh, this is just another extra tedious thing to deal with. I have to go through the forest really slowly, and it does slow down the gameplay a lot. But if you set up an ambush, it can be so satisfying. Like one time I saw, oh, there's this guy out here. I'm in the woods. He hasn't spotted me. I'm going to bring my other guys up to the edge of the forest, set them on Overwatch on this dude, and then have one of these guys open fire. So my guy opens fire. The dude's like, oh God, I'm under attack. And his like thing will be activated. He'll try to run to cover. The other two will Overwatch and take him down.
Oh, I was going to say like, if there's this one guy out in kind of like the open, is he a decoy?
It can be that way too. Not so much a decoy, but like they're usually in squads. So like if you see one, there's probably another one around too. But yeah, it's like it can open up that kind of tactical stuff, which is fun, at the cost of things being slowed down a lot. So it's like, it's take it or leave it. I don't know. It's kind of hard. On one hand, it's fun. On the other hand, I'm just like, I wish this would be faster.
Now, I'm kind of curious, since this seems to be incredibly based on real life events of, say, Vietnam and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Are there traps? Because that was a huge thing in the guerrilla warfare of Vietnam.
Only in the sense that there's ambushes, because like these people are heavily outmatched by your future tech, basically your mechs. You come into the game with fully healed, super armored up mechas. They're scavenging like heavily beat up mechas. So the mechs have they have an armor rating and they have an HP pool too. The armor will help so that when your thing gets attacked, like it'll lower a lot of the damage before you start taking heavy damage. A lot of their mechs are just like really banged up and easily destroyed. Okay. So like they're just heavily outclassed. But an interesting thing that this game does, it's just a demo. So there's like 3 or 4 missions basically. But in the final mission, you get to this one village and you meet up with your superior or whatever, and he's a real asshole. And he's basically like talking to some farmer, and he's like, why do you got these battle scars? And he's like, I'm just a farmer, and our village got attacked, that's why I have these scars. And he's like, I don't believe you. And he starts killing the innocent people or whatever.
Oh god.
And like basically you see like one of his platoon members is just like shooting out missiles into the village. So of course you're the good guys. You come in and you're like, what the fuck are you doing? Stand down, blah blah blah, I'm gonna have you court-martialed, blah blah blah. And the other guy just basically like kills your commander. And for the final fight of the demo, you're going up against other units that are in basically the USA equipped, really well armored mechs.
So you're probably screwed. I mean, I guess there's some tactics.
There is tactics, yeah. And like I said, this game is hard. The first time I went to that mission, I got a game over. All my dudes died.
That makes sense.
I was like, I know in this game there's permadeath. I don't know exactly how that works, because the 2 times that I got a game over were the only 2 times I lost units. The first time was like, oh, this unit, like the commander, has to survive because story reasons. And then he died, and so I got a game over. The second time was when I was at that boss fight, and like everyone was just slowly dying, and I'm like, I'm gonna freaking do this, but no, I ended up getting a game over. The second time I retried the mission, I was able to beat it without losing anybody. So it's like there is a lot of tactics where like, luckily the missions are pretty short. Like that mission, for example, there was like 4 enemies. They're 4 enemies that are basically equal to your dudes versus all the like scrubs you were fighting before. But still, at least it's a really quick mission. And some of the other missions are like, I think the most I saw was like 10 enemies. So if you die, it doesn't take too long to retry, which is nice. But it can be frustrating because it is a lot harder than front mission. Mostly because there's so many ambushes and surprises with the Fog of War.
Now, okay, here's a question. If you are going through one of the missions and just like, I'm going to lose this. Like there's no turning around.
Yeah.
Can you restart from the menu?
No.
Or do you have to finish it?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay.
Hopefully later they'll add a retry, because that one time I was playing against the final mission, and I basically lost everyone. I was down to like 1 or 2 people, and I'm like, there's still 2 or 3 super heavily full health units out there, and I'm basically dead. It's like, I checked, is there a retry? Because I know I'm gonna lose, but there wasn't.
Okay.
So that sucks. Luckily, I guess if you want to say that, luckily, it's pretty easy to get yourself killed. So if like,
well, now I know it's a suicide mission.
Just run into the open. You're gonna basically die real quick. So it doesn't take too long to get back into the game to like retry. That is another thing though. Because it's a demo, they also don't have like a skip cutscene.
Oh,
so I had to watch the scene of them like torching the village again. I could skip through like the dialogue real quick, but like the scene where they're like torching the village with the missiles and stuff is like, oh, I just gotta sit through and watch this again. So
now, I won't get too into it, but you brought up the thing just now, but also earlier about like, oh, this commanding officer of this invading. Were they invading or were they trying to help and this guy's just a dick?
That's a very political question. Were we trying to help Vietnam?
I guess. But I was just thinking, like, going in and torching a village of farmers made me think of not Vietnam, but another war. It basically made me think of Cambodia. So maybe there's
There's
little
probably
hints of everything.
yeah. I mean, it's basically the history of the USA interfering and
Well,
meddling.
that's the thing. Okay, again, trying not to get into it because I don't really know history, but from what I've heard, the Cambodia thing necessarily wasn't anything to do with us. It was just them.
Hmm. Well, no, this would definitely be more like the Vietnam or even maybe Korea, I guess.
I don't know.
Basically, we were there
I just
on
hope
pretense of like, we're going to stop communism. And basically, they're kind of saying that kind of thing. We're freedom fighters and we're going to bring freedom to the land. And even some of the soldiers are like, well, that's the official line, but we know it's kind of bullshit. And I'm sure the soldiers fighting in Vietnam were also thinking like, this is just what we got to do because we're here. Like, what else are you going to do?
I've only heard bits and pieces of any of those wars over there, and if anyone's listening to this who actually knows more about these conflicts, and I just hope they're not like internally screaming at like, no, you got these details wrong. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I'm not going too into detail about the story in this game because it's a fake world. But yeah, I think it's pretty clearly based on like Vietnam because we are U.S. coded soldiers in this Southeast Asian country.
Setting poor villagers on fire.
And like, yeah, you get little story quippets from like the president and like their president or their freedom fighter or whatever. And like, yeah. And again, it's a demo, so we don't know like how much will change or
be improved.
Yeah, because right now the story, it's just there. It's kind of bare bones to give you the idea of like
how this could go.
Yeah, like it's basically like just to set the setting. Like imagine you're like Vietnam with Max. There will be more story stuff later, but for now it's pretty bare bones.
Now I don't know if this was brought up in the demo or if it will be added with the full game. Now, you said going from mission to mission, there's no like magical healing between them, right?
No, that is another interesting part of the game because you will find, because you're going around like an overworld map, sometimes you'll find villages or like crash sites where you can scavenge gear.
Okay, because I was thinking like, okay, I understand the idea that you're going through and it's not going to magically heal all your stuff from mission to mission. But yeah, if there's like places you can take a break or something and work on like slowly giving back HP or something.
That's one thing that I've kind of found annoying too.
Really?
Annoying. It's tough. It's interesting, but it's also annoying. And I'll tell you why. After like one of my missions, and I had finally opened up the final mission, and I could tell that was going to be the final one. One of my guy's arms, well, his mech arms was blown off. So he was walking around with just a missile launcher on his like left shoulder, but no like gun. So he had basically like 3 shots. I'm like, this is not good enough. I did scavenge some after the missions. You can scavenge parts of the mechs, not a lot, but I did have like a spare arm. So I'm like, okay, this spare arm is like this Asian made, I think it's coded Japanese, like Japanese manufacturer arm. It's not as good as the American stuff, but it's better than nothing. The problem is we have to find a garage so I can, put it on. So I had to backtrack through the jungle to the one garage I found, go in there, and I replaced his broken arm with this, other model. And one of my other guys had a heavily damaged body. So luckily I had found a spare body too, and I was able to, switch his beat up US model body to this like Japanese version, which had less health, had less armor, but because the other one was so beat up, it was still better,
Yeah.
So that opens up interesting gameplay. I just don't like that, like, there's only the one garage and I had to backtrack so far.
Yeah, it seems like, I mean, okay, I don't know how mechs work, and I'm just trying to go off what little I know of vehicles because I don't drive a car, I don't need one, so it's just knowledge I don't have to hold on to. But I can understand needing to go back to a garage for like, yeah, maybe replacing a whole main body would actually require that. But as far as like reattaching a new arm, you would think they would be carrying some kind of kits with them.
Yeah, actually,
so that they could kind of do it on the road. But again, maybe that will one day come with the full game.
That would be an interesting thing I could like ask on their Steam page or whatever, because like especially for an arm, yeah. Like I would assume, oh, just lay down the mech.
Mm.
We'll use one of the other ones to like, hold it or stabilize it while we remove the arm and put on a different arm.
Yeah, because I can understand it being realistic, but it would also be realistic to be able, if you know you're in this jungle place, you know you're scavenging parts, you're going to want to bring tools along.
Yeah.
That just makes sense.
Or maybe like an engineer or something. If you remember, like in the only Gundam that really portrayed like that kind of conflict was the one we watched.
Yeah, they would have like at least one little truck alongside them.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. To like for radio or other stuff, and it's like maybe
exactly.
have like a vehicle with like a crane or something following the back to. But it's war, so maybe they just don't have the resources to supply every troop with that. But that would be nice, just so the player didn't have to backtrack.
Or at least not for like quote unquote minor repairs.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't about to go into the final mission with one dude basically on the verge of death, because if the body blows up, you're dead.
Yeah.
If you lose an arm, that's fine. I mean, it's not great, but this guy could at least have shot like 3 more missiles before being useless. You can also tackle, so even if you blow up arms off the mechs, like, worst comes the worst, if they're in melee range, they can counterattack with tackles, and that has come in handy a few times.
That would be interesting, like if you were shot at and your body was like, say, ticking down or something, that you could tackle as a like last resort if you know you're gonna die anyways.
Or I don't know if there is in this game, I didn't see it, but the option to eject, because they seem to be indicating that this has permadeath, but I don't think there's any way to avoid dying if your mech gets blown up. If you see, oh, my body has like, is basically a 5% or less, being able to eject to like save your dude and maybe like build him up another mech later would be cool.
That would make more sense. Yeah.
Front Mission 3 did that, but also Front Mission 3 had like really annoying mechanics where like there's certain weapons that could like force ejects. So I don't know, a bunch of interesting ideas. I think overall I liked it. It took a lot to get used to the whole like Fog of War and Overwatch thing, because that's not in Front Mission. But I've played enough XCOM to be like, okay, I can wrap my head around it. It's just another element, and it does slow the game down a bit. But I mean, all in all, I thought it was really good. So I'm excited to see, and it kind of makes me want to play more Front Mission, which is good or bad.
Do you have any other Front Missions currently?
I've played Front Mission 3, I've played Front Mission 4, and I've played a little bit of Front Mission 5.
Yes, but do you own them?
No. On Steam, there is a remake of 1 and 2. I don't want to play 1 for kind of a petty reason.
Well, now you gotta tell me. Well, tell us.
Okay, so in these games, you're basically, imagine any tactical game, you got the overhead view when you're controlling the cursor and telling people where to move and what to attack, right?
Right.
But when you hit attack, it kind of zooms down into like a little cinematic where your dude like takes out his gun, is like pop 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 pop, and like then you hear like the tonk 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 of like the bullets hitting the other mech, and like the mech counterattacking, like, and then like when it hits it's such a crunchy good sound,
Okay.
But in Front Mission 1, when that happens, instead of letting the music continue, it switches to a battle music, so you'll be hearing like the overworld music, which can be really good and changes stage to stage. But every time somebody attacks, it goes into like a set battle music that you hear again and again and again and again for like 3 seconds at a time.
That's unfortunate. But
and it's awful.
If this is a remake on Steam, are mods available?
I don't know. I'd have to look into that. If somebody could mod that music out of it, then I probably would give it a shot. But that's always been a pet peeve of mine for Front Mission 1. Luckily, in Front Mission 2 and onward, they took that out. So now the music just continues playing.
So they learned from their mistake.
Yeah. You know what I really like in, this isn't a Front Mission game, but in Fire Emblem Awakening, I think is the first game I saw do this, where like it would have like the map music, and then when it switches to like a battle,
it's the same music, just remixed.
Yeah, it's remixed to be more like actiony, and it has like extra instruments to make it sound more punchy. It's so good. That's the perfect way of doing it. So if like, I don't know if Front Mission 2 or 3 remakes have that, but either way, yeah. I'm going to see if the Front Mission 2 demo is any good, because I didn't even know they had a demo. But apparently the Front Mission 2 remake on Steam has a demo, so I'm going to download that and play it and see. I've heard that remake has some technical issues and it can be kind of buggy, so we'll see. But yeah, this game has made me want to play some more Front Mission, and I never played Front Mission 2. Front Mission 3 was my first one, and it was actually really interesting. I won't get too into it, but imagine the internet back in the 90s. Now imagine like a Japanese internet back in the 90s.
Oh my god.
And this game has that. It has like a fake internet.
Huh.
And like you're going through the world, you can find websites. You can go to the websites of like manufacturers, of governments, of like certain media things, and just like click around on links. And sometimes you would have to go like to a forum to be like to find a lead on like a mission you're doing.
Really?
It was really interesting.
Huh. Okay, that does sound kind of interesting, yeah.
For a Front Mission game, for a game that's mainly about, running around on a tactical screen with mechs. Sometimes you just had to go on the internet and look at stuff. So, yeah, it was kind of cool. That was the only one that did that, at least the one that I've played, because I know Front Mission 4 didn't have that.
So there's actual, like, gameplay mechanics, as in, like you said, you go on the forums to find leads to quests to do?
Yeah.
And not just, like, information in general of, like, lore or something?
Well, both. But there would be times where, like, oh, we don't know where we need to go, and, like, we're after this one guy. Let's troll the internet and see if he's got an internet presence, and we can kind of see maybe he's here or there or stuff like that,
Ooh, investigations.
Yeah, it was really cool. Even though it's, like, a super weird version of the internet. Like, that does not exist now, obviously. But yeah, it was definitely a neat part of it. I love that game. When that gets the remake, I'm definitely playing it because I barely remember the story.
Now, do you think you would want to play the full game of this demo when it comes out? Because it does sound really interesting, even if it's like, quote unquote, a fake world, but obviously heavily inspired by real world wars that happened.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also, there's a quick thing that I didn't get to say earlier, is it feels like this is one of those games where it is incredibly hard, but it's like, yeah, if you goof up too early, and then it's like a cascading effect of getting like stomped on. Yeah,
it can be, especially if permadeath is going to be a thing. It can definitely be that. So we'll see.
But I guess that's kind of realistic.
Yeah. They're listening to feedback, especially on the Overwatch thing, because like when you run into a new pod of enemies, they call them pods. If you stumble upon like a pod of like 2 or 3 enemies, they react to you like, oh no, there's the enemy. They'll like run into position and get into Overwatch. And that is super annoying. So a lot of people have been offering feedback on that. If they could tweak that, even just a little thing or other difficulty options, that would be great. I was able to beat it, even though it was hard. But I could see where some people are going to be like, this is too hard. I don't want to bother with this.
Now, are you going to give them feedback on this? Are you going to write up anything?
I did on the Steam forums. I was on there and, replied to a few things.
Because, like, now that we have a podcast, we can talk about when you give feedback to things and if you get replies back or something to put things out there.
I guess. I mean, I'm not going to turn this podcast into like a
super journalism.
Yeah, but I just I liked it. I will, once they, release more, which is probably going to be forever. I've been following them even back when I was on Twitter. So that was years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a small team. You can tell that like storytelling and like voice acting isn't the best, but the gameplay's fun enough. And like the story is enough of a backbone to at least give you an interesting world to play through. I'm not gonna, even if I'm not like super invested in the story or whatever, it's fine. Whereas like, okay, Front Mission 3 had like a really cool story with like a lot of like political intrigue.
Now it's funny that you say that the story is bare bones, but like when you're describing it to me, it seems pretty decent. Or maybe it's just because I'm pulling from what little I know happened in real life, so I'm almost like imagining it in my own head. Yeah,
probably. It's kind of that thing where like sometimes you see the sketch of something, but like when it gets fine-tuned and you see the finished product, it's like, well,
I kind of like the sketch better.
Yeah, it's like the potential is there even if it wasn't executed perfectly. It's that. It's fine. It's not, I'm not saying it's like horrible or bad, but it's not like,
yeah, they don't have 80 people on a AAA team.
It's like I said, it's fine. There's enough motivation there to like, destroy the dude who basically killed your commanding officer because he got chewed out for blowing up a village. But like that's it. That's like it doesn't get much deeper than that. At least not now. It seems to be they're hinting at more. I mean,
I would hope so. I mean, it's a demo.
We'll see.
You don't want to give everything away in your demo, so.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was fun. I played something besides Genshin. Go figure.
Yeah, I'm sure anyone listening will be very happy about that.
Maybe. Unless they're like, oh god, tactical mech stuff. I don't care about that either.
Hey, not every episode's going to be great for everyone. That's fine.
Yeah, and hey, that's kind of half the point of a podcast like this where we're just, chilling, hanging out. If it is boring and you end up falling asleep, that's kind of half the point. At least for me. I fell asleep to an episode of this, so I don't know if that says anything.
Probably not. You sleep to basically anything.
I don't know.
I'm the one that listens and stays up and tries to get the whole podcast most of the time.
Last night I was trying to fall asleep without anything, and just it took me like 40 minutes or more to fall asleep. I was like,
poor baby, that's my usual.
I was like, I should put on a podcast just to lull myself to sleep, but I didn't because I didn't want to disturb you. Anyway, I do want to ask you one thing.
Oh, okay.
You finished the main story bit of the the storybook adventure that Genshin added.
Oh yes, now we go into Genshin talk.
What did you think of it? I mean,
it was okay.
Yeah.
Let's see, what can I remember? So a little quick thing, and this is gonna be silly, but it was interesting that they kept I'm gonna forget everyone's names. The king.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that they kept calling her king instead
Yeah.
of queen. So that was just a small little thing. It was like, oh, okay, she's just king. It's also in the very beginning when she comes out for the first time, she has like the little mustache on because she's king. And then it just disappears forever after that.
Oh, yeah.
She should have kept that on, I think.
I barely remembered that, but yeah.
So that was fun. Then I guess the little block people were interesting. I guess I shouldn't assume that they were all male. They're probably gender neutral. It's just, I guess I default to that being male coded, if you will.
Yeah, it's tough. It's like if this character isn't pink or doesn't have a bow, I guess it's a guy.
But then again, the voices were also all male or
True,
masculine.
true.
So I guess you could say that didn't help. The little characters were cute. I kind of wish I could build them. The sound, the little clanking they made, top notch. Like, I don't know what it is about that little clicky clack noise that they make. That was good.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that. The little towns, the towns were fun. The environment, the blockiness, of course.
What would you call those things? They're not like Lego people. They're there's like really no equivalent, I guess. There's little.
I guess I would just call them block people. Because the houses and stuff, it wasn't like Lincoln blocks. It was just regular blocks, I guess, wooden blocks.
Actually, yeah.
I don't know if there's a technical term for that type of style or not.
It was only like the final area that had those like building blocks that you would imagine as a kid, like with the little bridge piece, the little wooden blocks, the like colorful blocks.
Oh, yeah, those blocks.
And there's like that semicircle half block thing.
Right. And the little like half tubes.
Yeah, yeah.
Like if they were a little bigger, you'd be like, oh, I could skateboard on that.
This is like a toy world, kind of.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed that aspect of it. And I liked the textures on the blocks, and it looked like homemade kind of things. The dragon bit was vaguely interesting. Like, they were kind of being vague the entire time.
Yeah.
Which doesn't help.
Yeah.
I mean, I can try and fill in some of the stuff, but even when I fill in my own ideas, I guess I'm always worried that I'm not getting it how they wanted me to get it or something.
I agree completely. Like, I wasn't sure by the end of it. It's like, so apparently there was like a trio of witches, and one witch was like a writer, and the other witch was like, I love your stories, I'm gonna make a little like world.
Yeah.
So she makes this world inside this book, and like then they make,
I guess the third witch was kind of just, were they necessarily witches? Because this is like a storybook. Because like I was almost just thinking that they were just three sisters, like three human sisters, and they just happen to make this world. I guess they are
witches
powers.
In the sense that like I know one of the characters for sure is like, maybe in this world you would call them mages, but they're called, I think they get referred to as witches.
Oh, okay. I guess fine.
And
magic powers.
You meet one of the witch's daughters later.
Oh, okay.
In fact, I don't know did you meet Klee in Mondstadt?
If I did, I don't remember.
There's a little girl with like a red hat and she likes bomb fishing.
No, I don't.
Anyway, she's one of the people you can meet in Mondstadt. It's probably a side quest that you missed. Her mom is one of the witches.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's like...
Because there was the 3 witches, okay. Mm-hmm. And there was, I guess, like, the elderly one? Or at least in the English voices, she sounded elderly. And the fact that she dies.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's interesting that they're the, like, gods or goddesses of this Toy Story world.
Yeah.
But they're clearly not, because they're not actually all powerful. They're still humans-ish.
Yeah.
So they still die. So I guess it was M was the oldest one, and then there was A, and then they had like 3 letters.
There was another one, yeah.
Actually, I think the 3rd one mentions how she wanted to be A, but somehow the other one had like seniority or something, so she get the letter A.
Yeah, silly.
So yes, I think it was M that created the dragon.
That's another thing I didn't quite understand. I was like, is this like a witch's familiar that like she just decided to give life inside the book? It wasn't entirely clear to me.
I guess you could kind of see like maybe, okay, you said one of the witches had a daughter, but maybe M didn't have a daughter. Maybe she was childless, sorry. So maybe she couldn't have children, and that's why she decided to make this dragon, I guess.
Maybe.
But the thing that got me about that part of the story was like she created this dragon, and the dragon referred to M as mom and stuff like that. But why would you create this dragon who you want to love everyone? Because that was the point, like, be good to everyone. It's like, fine. But then she makes it so that the dragon is so massive that every time it lands, it leaves, like, barren bits to the land. And it's so massive that it scares everyone. Why would you do that to your own creation?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's what didn't make sense. It's like you want it to be friends with everyone, which is great motivation, but then you make it so big, it just can't. And now it's frustrated because everyone's terrified of it.
I don't know if there was like hints to like quote unquote real world version of a dragon that exists like outside the storybook. Because okay, you finished most of it. There is like one last like prologue quest where you'll meet a few people, and like it's mostly just wrapping up stuff and like bonus stuff, like yay, happy stuff. But they do make an allusion to like one of the dragons that exist out in the real world. Like you fought one of them, but apparently there's a few more. So I don't know if there's anything to do with that. That maybe that's what that thing was supposed to be. I don't know.
And then at the end, you know, you go through the whole storyline. You see that this dragon just wants to be friends, and it's frustrated because no one trusts it. It's too big, blah blah blah. And so the forest fairy, was it Nilu? She's like, okay, I'm gonna do this magic prayer stuff and transform the dragon, and that was fine because it was like, oh, okay, just make him smaller, and they do, but then he's no longer blocky. He's just like this super chibi dragon thing, and like the head horns are fine, whatever. It's almost too chibi. And then he doesn't look like anyone else. He's not origami like the forest animals. He's not blocky like he was, which looked perfectly fine. He's something entirely for this world. And I was like, I don't like that. All they literally had to do was take his blocky form and make him tiny. Because his blocky form made sense in that world and was fine. He was just too big.
Yeah, true.
Just make him small. But then they make him into this super chibi thing, and it's just like kind of awkward. So now he doesn't look like anyone else in that world other than like our main characters, I guess.
But he also says he doesn't want to stay in the world. He wants to go explore the real world.
I guess.
So maybe that's
why.
Like,
I don't know.
Well,
and then he's like really annoying towards Wanderer, but Wanderer is kind of like annoying in his own way, so whatever.
Yeah, he's a complicated character. You'll
maybe explain it later.
If you play long enough, you'll see he plays a big role in both the Japanese area and the Sumero, the Indian area. So
I mean, it makes sense. He's like a Ronin, right?
It's complicated.
Okay.
But yeah.
He's definitely got the rice hat on. Or rice hat inspired.
Yeah. So yeah, it's one of those, this event is like a limited time thing, so like once it's gone, nobody can see these stories, but it's like it's just a cute little fun story. It's not too deep. It's not really that serious, but
maybe I should draw my own my own idea of the dragon getting smaller but staying blocky. Because it was perfectly fine in my opinion.
It'll be interesting to see your reaction to the other stories that are still left. Because you still got the prologue, which, I mean, it's not that big of a deal.
And I still have to go with...
Kirara to do her little quest.
Yeah. Which I wanted to do and I started, but then I was...
Yeah.
It was during game community night and I couldn't pay attention to both things at once. So.
Yeah, that's fair. There's a lot of talking in that. Especially because it literally has a narrator.
Yeah.
So, like, that set of quests does... Story kind of plays an important part, I guess. I mean, not super important. There was parts where, like, there's a lot of text. And I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to skim this because this is too much.
And since you mentioned it earlier that you said the English voice kind of makes it seem more like Stanley Parable thing.
At first, it gave me that feeling, yeah.
And now that I think back from one little part that I remembered was that I was trying to listen to everyone else play their games. I think they were playing like Mario Kart at the time. Trying to pay half attention to that and half attention to this. And there was like, at the very start in the village, it was like, oh, now I was also listening in Japanese, which also did not help. It's like something about like, oh, you're supposed to go to the left of the house or something. And I was only half getting the instructions and I guess I went to left or something that they wanted. But then that definitely reminded me of the Stanley Parable is like, oh, you should take this door. And then you take the other one. And they're like, no, that's not what I meant, but fine, whatever.
Yeah, the guy like chastises you. He's like, if this wasn't clear enough, let me spell it out for you. And so yeah, the little parts with the narrator were kind of fun. So yeah, I thought that story was, I don't want to say more interesting, but it made me laugh. There's definitely some parts where I got a good few chuckles out of it.
But otherwise, I've been playing more Pokemon than Genshin this week.
Oh, I will say one thing before we move on. On Genshin, since I already finished that, I ended up starting Fontaine since I finished Sumero. And it's one of the first quests, big story quests, is literally Ace Attorney.
Oh my god.
It is literally, you're in court, there's a murder, you're a lawyer, you have to collect evidence, you have to examine the crime scene, you have to dispute the prosecutor. It's literally Ace Attorney inside Genshin, which was
now, do
crazy.
They have any of the parody characters?
Parody characters?
Well, like, is there a parody of Ace? Is there a parody of
no,
Wright or whatever his name?
No, it's all their unique characters.
Oh, dang.
I guess, like, okay, you've met the Archon of Wind, like the Wind God, right?
Yeah.
And he's very, like, offhands. He's like, I want people to have freedom, and I want my own freedom. I'm just not going to do anything for, like, I'm just going to be in the background doing my own thing. Each country's Archons or gods handles their things differently.
Right.
In this one in Fontaine, she really loves the court and, like, the drama of court.
Oh my god.
So they built a lot of their society around court.
Maybe they should
making
just
it a show. It's like a theater act. People come to court to witness these stories and the prosecution as like a form of theater.
Oh, okay.
So that's why she's kind of like an important character there. And like the prosecutor, or not the prosecutor, but the judge is also like an important character. So they're their own special characters.
Oh, okay.
Because their weird society is just so...
Someone should give her cable subscription to daytime TV. She will get all the court shows that she needs.
And that's where I finally met, was her name Navia? The king in the story.
Oh, right.
That's where she's from. So, like, I finally meet her, and, like, she didn't have anything to do with that. She's her own thing there, but she was helping me, like, provide a defense for the character that was on trial. So, yeah.
Does she have a different outfit, or is it the same one?
It's the same, except instead of a crown, she has a regular hat.
Yeah, makes sense.
And she has, like, these two attendants, and, like, her big thing was, like, her attendants, like, bring along, like, cooking supplies, and she was making, like, macaroons for everybody. It's silly. It's fun.
Super French.
Yeah. So, yeah, I finally met her. The only one I haven't met so far is Kirara. So, anyway, yeah, I like it. It's good. You can talk about Pokemons if you want.
Okay. So, yes, I figured try to do something that wasn't completely Genshin this week, but only half made it.
But, I mean, to be fair, we've talked about Pokemon many times, too, so...
I suppose. I'll try to do more demo stuff in the future or indie game things. So, let's see, Pokemon. Okay, so last time I think I had mentioned something about the Safari Zone. So I'm trying to remember how much different stuff I've done since then. I've gone and, let's see, I beat Koga, and no surprise, I basically destroyed that entire gym with just Kadabra.
Yeah.
Then I remembered I had to do like the Silphco and Team Rocket, both a little bit in Celadon because of the casino, and then a little bit or more bit in Saffron City, because like everything's basically closed until you go through the tower and, you know, get Giovanni to get away from the Silphco owner guy, whatever.
You have to do that to get the magnifying glass to see the ghost, right?
No, the Silphco tower is where you get the Master Ball. Once you release the Silphco lenses or whatever. Where was that?
I thought that was in there.
Maybe that was that Celadon City, maybe? Because that was also Team Rocket in there. I think that might have been that.
I don't
And
know.
then I had to, go back and then do the Marowak stuff and got a Ghastly in there. And then I, trained it up. Oh, and just a silly thing, but Persian or Meowth, I guess at the time, technically. Meowth with Bite and Feint Attack, and also with black sunglasses on, which boost Dark. Absolutely fucking destroys ghosts. Because it's normal, so they can't hit it with their ghost attacks.
Yeah.
And then the Dark already does super effective, and then you boost it with the black glasses. And it's just like so fucking hilarious that this little tiny cat, if you will, can you just imagine a little cat with black sunglasses being all cool and just like grinning at ghosts, and they're just like
Biting
fucking
ghosts.
horrified. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, but that thing, that's the scariest image for any ghost, apparently. So, Meowth, I think, became Persian somewhere in there, just all the training, and just wiped everything out. It was great.
He's also good against Psychic, right? Dark is strong against Psychic.
Yeah. I guess it's just that Psychic can actually hit
True.
normal. But you did bring that up, and the last gym I beat was just Sabrina. And originally I was thinking like, oh, Haunter's gonna kick ass, but Haunter actually is also part poison.
Yeah, bad.
Which is not good against Psychic. So
really bad balancing on the original trio.
Unfortunately, yes. So it was between Haunter and Persian that wiped out that gym. And it was funny because I'm trying to learn in these games to not just hoard items.
Yeah.
Not just hoard money, to actually use my money to buy items like revives and actually fucking use them. So I'm getting a little better at that. Kind of that whole meme of, oh, I have all these potions, I might need it, and then you just finish the game and you have like 3,000 potions left over.
Yeah, I think it's tough in the original Pokemon because it's a one-on-one fight, so using an item just wastes your turn, and it's like sometimes you'll use a heal and then just lose all that HP anyways.
Yes, so that's where I think, I don't know if you could count it necessarily as strategy, but I would put in like, say for Sabrina, which I beat her by the very skin of my teeth, basically. So she ended up taking out, I think, my Kadabra and also Haunter, or were they already Alakazam and Gengar? Either way. So I would put in like my Gyarados, which I know is like 10 levels underneath. I know he wasn't going to survive, so I put Gyarados in there. And then I would take that one chance and like put a revive on Haunter or say Persian or something.
Yeah.
And then I would put them back in, and I know it could get a couple of more hits with them before they completely died. And I think it might have helped too that Sabrina had used, I think, 2 max potions on her, was it Mr. Mime? Or one of her previous Pokemon. And then she also almost destroyed me with her Alakazam, because obviously. But then after I finally beat Alakazam, it was just her Venom Moth left. So I just like took it out with one hit from my Alakazam. So it's just like I barely beat her, but I did manage it. And it's just like, yeah, you know your weak Pokemon or whatever you're using is not going to get a hit off, so you know you use that one chance to revive or max potion a different Pokemon. So if that counts as
a
strategy,
sacrificial pawn.
basically. So that was fun. Giovanni was also kind of tough, but then he used like Nidoqueen, which is just plain poison. So my Kadabra took her out pretty easily. Was there a Pokemon that he had that was actually kind of tough? I don't remember. I just remember the Nidoqueen. He had Rhyhorn, which that wasn't too bad. I think I actually did the Rhyhorn with Gyarados. And then also I believe on the previous podcast that I had mentioned Pokemon at the time, I was like, oh, this is the old game, they don't have the XP share. But then later on, after the podcast, I found that, yes, there is actually an XP share item.
Yeah.
Which it's still not the XP share that they have in other games where like, oh, one Pokemon fights and fucking everyone gets experience. Hold item. Yeah. This is a hold item, so only one Pokemon can get the experience share.
And it splits it.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, if you use just the if you use one Pokemon, it splits it 50-50.
Yeah.
But if you use two Pokemon, the two Pokemon that fought share that 50-50. So they get like 25-25, and then the one holding the item gets the 50%.
Yeah.
Which is fine. So once I got that item, I immediately ran to the water, used the old rod, caught a like level 5 Magikarp, put the item on it, and just waited until level 20 when it evolved into Gyarados.
Yeah.
So
way
that was
easier
pretty
than how we had to do it back in the day.
Oh my god, yes, absolutely. So that was pretty fucking sweet. And then at some point I went back to the Safari Zone, which you watched me play. And
oh yeah.
What did I get? I got an Execute. I got a Nidoran. I know there's the male Nidoran somewhere. I got the female one. What else did I get? I got the Chansey, which was surprising because Chansey and Tauros, I think, are like the shortest, or not shortest, the smallest ratio chance in the Safari Zone.
Even more so than the bugs, like Scyther?
They might be equal. I think they're like 1%.
You didn't run into any of the bugs.
No. What other bugs other than Scyther are there? Pinsir, okay. They might be in other sections. So it's like they have all the different sections. Each section has its own different Pokemon. And then even from there, then you have like, say, the 1% chance of even finding those. Yeah. Like I saw the Tauros once. And then on top of that, you have to get lucky enough to fucking capture it.
Yeah.
And it's just like absolutely fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I did get a pretty decent amount of Pokemon for the like $5 you pay to get in. It's technically like 500 Pokemon dollars, whatever that currency is called. I just assume it's Japanese yen, so I say, oh, 500, it's $5, whatever.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then, then you saw me just, was it Seaking? It was one of the Pokemon I really didn't want or need, so I just kept throwing rocks on it until it fled. So I'm just chucking rocks at this poor animal in this, what I assume is some kind of conservation area.
Yeah.
So that was weird.
It's funny, just the image of like, here you go, you can go see our animals, you could try to catch them, you could try to feed them, or if you want,
just bludgeon them to death with rocks.
Feel free to throw rocks at them. That's fine too.
So, yeah, that was interesting. I think that was most of it from last time, I believe.
Yeah, I saw you fighting Articuno.
Oh, yeah, that was just because I happened to be in there, because I didn't remember what level it was, and it's level 50. There's no fucking chance. Yeah. So, obviously, I saved right before then, so I was just like, okay, restart.
That's fair.
I'm not ruining this chance. So.
I remember the first time I played Pokemon way back in the day. I used my Master Ball on Articuno.
I mean, it would kind of make sense at the time, because you just got it, and it's like, you don't know what's coming ahead.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh shit, this, mystical Pokemon, but no.
I was like, oh, later you kind of regret it, but I mean, catching Mewtwo or the other ones with the Ultra Ball is probably
also acceptable.
Yeah, I think Mewtwo would be harder because I think it knows Recover.
It wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
So that would be a real pain without the Master Ball, but I don't remember. I just know that Articuno came in handy, so whatever. Yeah, especially like as a kid, like imagine getting a level 50 legendary with ice at that point in the game when your other Pokemon are like level 30. I didn't regret it.
Well, I mean, it depends on your Pokemon. I know Gyarados is a little late to the game. I think I was originally going to wait to try and evolve my Gengar or my Haunter and Kadabra into their evolved bits until about 40. I made it to 38. Fuck it, close enough.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully, there was a very easy mod because at first I like, oh, you can set up the V-Link and do the trading that way, but then you'd have to have like, you can't just use two of the same save files. I couldn't just duplicate it. I would have to need a second one. And that just seemed like a pain in the ass. And then I looked around and they're like, oh yeah, there's just this, I mean, I guess technically a cheat program and you can change whatever you want. But all I wanted was to evolve them because I don't have the option of trading, like, quote unquote, legitimately. So that's all I did. I just changed Kadabra into Alakazam. I changed Haunter into Gengar, and that's all I changed.
Machoke.
Oh, I forgot Machoke has to do that. Well, he could. I'll maybe later I can do that.
Golem too, but
yeah, I don't have a Geodude though.
I mean, if you're not using those Pokemon, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
you're not gonna try to get 150.
Yeah, there's no point to that. And that's a tough thing because in order to get the XP share, I needed the 50 Pokemon. So for a while, yes, I was trying to concentrate on evolving Pokemon into their next or third evolutions as much as I could. But now that I have that item, I don't think I need to have technically any more Pokemon to get any other items that I'm aware of at the moment. So I don't need to necessarily continue that. I can just kind of try and pick my team from now on. But I still have to go after Blaine. And I poked around the Pokemon Mansion a little bit thinking, I think there's supposed to be Growlithe in there somewhere. I could use like fire Pokemon to train on, especially with Gyarados.
Yeah.
But I kept getting poisoned. So like, that's just like for my Psychic or Haunter or Gengar. So I'll have to work on that a little bit. I still need to get Gyarados up, maybe get a fire Pokemon, work on the other water Pokemon to take out Blaine, and then go from there, I guess. It's hard trying to find Pokemon of the right level and right type so that you can train up the opposite type with like super effective moves.
Yeah, it's just grinding in those old games is so tedious.
It's unfortunate, yeah.
See, I know we talked about this before, but that's what I did when I played Final Fantasy V. I threw on the Game Shark for the emulator, and it's like, give me 5 times XP for a little bit, so I don't have to do this forever.
I mean, yeah, I guess. Like, I get that, but I feel like I'm so close to the end anyways, other than training up maybe Gyarados and maybe a fire Pokemon or something. I just train up what I have now to take on eventually the Elite Four, and then I'm done.
Or what we did as a kid, using missing number to give us 99 rare candies.
Yeah. Actually, that's another item I've actually been using, because I had leveled up Pidgeotto to, I think it was like 35, and he still didn't. And I'm like, it's got to be close. 32 or 36. So then he got up to 35. It didn't click. So I'm like, okay, I have like 2 or 3 rare candies. So I just gave him 1 to 36. Jesus. And then he evolved. And I'm like, okay, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Also, do you happen to remember where the fuck do I get Fly? Is that after Blaine? Because I could have sworn I should have had Fly by now, but I cannot find it anywhere.
Really? I don't know. I don't remember. I thought it was before. I thought it was at one of the big cities.
That's what I thought, but I've been talking to everyone, even after defeating them or whatever. I don't know. Maybe I just have to look it up because this is frustrating as hell.
That's too much of a quality of life thing. You should just Google it. If you missed it, that would be awful.
Yeah, it's fucking bonkers. So other than that, I've been doing pretty good. Because Koga, I think, unlocks Surf. I beat Sabrina. She just talked about a TM. What other gym leaders are there? It's just Blaine and then Giovanni, right?
Yeah.
No one's given me the okay that, like, oh, your Pokemon can use Fly now.
Well, then maybe it is Blaine.
What the fuck? Oh my
I don't
god.
know.
Okay.
It's been too long for me.
Aside from that, I guess I'm good, so.
Yeah, I guess me too. Well, it's been another fun day sitting here with you, talking about games.
Yeah, and yeah, maybe this week I'll try to look up, I don't know, a demo or an indie game that we already have or something.
Yeah, check your
Just that
Epic
it's
library.
not like going through Genshin and Pokemon every other week or
Yeah.
something.
I mean, check your Epic library. There's a bunch of free games on there.
Yeah, that's
That's what I
fair.
played Floppy Nights on,
Oh,
which I never
and
did finish.
yeah, I finally ended up buying a new SSD, so that's nice to have and put a bunch of stuff on. I moved Genshin over, so that obviously loads up a lot quicker.
Yeah, it's dramatically different. Holy cow.
Yeah. And I think I also switched over Minecraft, so I'm probably not going to play that too much, but I should load it up just to see the difference it does or does not make. So.
An SSD can actually help performance too. This is something that maybe some people aren't aware of, but I noticed back in the day when I was playing Fallout 4, I originally had that on a regular hard disk drive, and like you would get stuttering when you're moving around because like
It's
once
loading.
yeah, it's like, oh, you've moved this far into the world, we have to load in the next part of the world, right? On a regular hard disk drive it would stutter, but when I put it on SSD, solid state drive,
Yeah.
the stuttering was eliminated. So
Yeah,
yeah.
so I'm thinking like, oh, because I know that happened obviously in Minecraft. Because not only they loading in the new blocks, but you can see for a pretty long time depending on how you set up your settings. So yeah, if it doesn't have stuttering when it loads in like far away lands, that would be pretty cool. But the hardest thing with Minecraft is that you kind of have to make your own adventure to some degree,
Yeah, I mean,
and I'm just not always good at that.
well, that's the thing too. We've played so much of Minecraft already that we kind of like.
Yeah, I'm not one of those building people, so that doesn't help.
That's what I always love. Like finding somewhere, build a nice house, build a nice farm, maybe a village. I like to building up the villages, but they also get kind of annoying. I remember when the villagers didn't make that noise. We
I'm
were
sure you
playing.
could mod that.
We played Minecraft so long ago that the villagers were silent, and like we would complain about the doors opening and closing.
Yes.
But that's like not the annoying thing anymore. But yeah, it's like I never really. I went into hell. What is it called? The Nether? Yeah.
Yeah.
Went into the Nether and played around in there. I remember the first time sleeping in a bed in the Nether and like, oops, you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, and then it explodes in your face.
But like, I never really did the end. I never did any of the underwater stuff. I know in one update they added like underwater castles and stuff. It's like there's just so much now.
Yeah, it's a little overwhelming.
I guess it's interesting. Oh
But
well,
we'll see how that goes.
yeah, me too. I'll see what I'll play. I'm probably gonna try the new front mission demo and see if it's as buggy as people say.
Yeah, and give us like a comparison between. I mean, okay, I guess that was a AAA game, but see how like the indie.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I'm definitely in the mood for more tactical, stompy mechs. There's just something so satisfying about this stomp, 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 and like the noise they make when they're like shooting and like the clank, clank, clank when it hits the other mech. Oh, it's so satisfying, and the explosions, so good. I will say, okay, I won't go too far into this because we're way past time already. But like the one thing that the Kriegsfront Tactics doesn't have that Front Mission has that I like is that Front Mission has like tanks and attack helicopters that you have to deal with, whereas in this indie game it's only other mechs.
I mean, I guess it kind of fits for the setting of it.
There should be helicopters too. I liked that these mechs, they are just one aspect of the war machine.
I guess.
You still had to worry about tanks and all this other
And
stuff.
infantry.
In Front Mission 3 there was infantry, but like obviously that's not a big aspect of it because they're very squishy.
But I mean, like in this indie, the Krieg, whatever.
Oh, there's no infantry in this game now.
Okay.
Just mechs.
But I'm just thinking, like, yeah, with the helicopter flying in, say, infantry or supplies or something, but trying to find someone in a jungle would be too much of a waste of gas, I would assume. Unless you're dropping bombs to set everything on fire.
Yeah, I mean, they'd be like support and visual. I don't know. It's a whole other thing to balance the game around, but it's just one thing about Front Mission that I liked. Anyway, we should
Yeah, so we'll see you next week. Yeah, so visit us on our various social media. I should put a link to all that stuff on the Podbean, or I'll figure out how to connect all these things.
That's where she's posting my comics, because I draw the comics and then I don't like to think about them, and she'll post them everywhere and handle that side of it.
Yeah, I try to do the social media aspect, and I'm not too good at it. So
that's okay. I'm not too good at drawing comics either, so it works out.
Anyways, we'll see you next week. So, bye-bye.
See you later.